All right, guys, what is going on? We are live. Welcome back to the Unconventional Mindset. My name's Odum, and it is Friday, which is Pizza Friday. And I do apologize. You can probably hear in my voice. I am just feeling like one big pile of just hot ass today. This is brutal. So this cold, whatever I have, is all in my throat. So today we're probably not going to get too far. But that being said, I do have something that's I know is actually really important to do. And I think it's actually a good time to do this, given what we talked about the past couple of days, is kind of just looking at a 4-month outlook and figuring out the things that we need to do on a large scale in order to keep moving forward towards what our goals are and where we want to be. So it's not going to take too much time to think and just kind of plan it out, but it's also something that I think it's really important to do. So we'll get on to that today. And of course, the overall goal, what we're doing here is we're trying to build ourselves a company that's going to generate us $1 million in revenue every single year. And to do that, we have built Pixel Pieces, which is our WEBFLOW template and component library. And I just this morning published the 6 new updates to our review components. So we have now a good selection of review components that people can use. So that's cool. So we'll keep plugging away. 68 components in general. And and that one of the things that we'll get into in a second here. So yesterday we went over kind of what our goal was for the company that we're building and growing, and we kind of differentiated between the two different things that we're doing. Number one is Pixel Media. And number 2 is Unconventional Mindset. So Pixel Media is the whole business and businesses that we're building to generate us, the revenue that we want to generate. And Unconventional Mindset is the documentation process and trying to figure all that stuff out. And it's all about changing your mindset in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve. So again, right now they're very linked together, but going forward, they're going to probably diverge a little bit. And so we just kind of want to have that distinction right now. But there's kind of 4 main things that we kind of talked about that we need to do here as a company. Number 1 is keep cultivating Pixel Pieces, which is keep building more components, keep trying to get more customers, keep improving the product, and just in general, just trying to make that product as best as it possibly can be. There's also, of course, maintaining the existing client base that we have, making sure that we keep them happy, and potentially maybe look for more clients. But for right now, I think we're going to put that a little bit on the back burner. And then on to the Unconventional Mindset sort of things. We have our live stream, which we want to continue doing. And then we want to get started on our weekly podcast. So those are kind of the 4 things that we kind of need to work on. And what I thought would be a good thing to do would be to kind of plan out how those 4 things are going to overlap and how I'm going to work on each one of those things. So that way, when we get to, I think about 4 months from now, that we'll be having consistent revenue, or at least having some customers on Pixel Pieces. We'll be publishing videos consistently on YouTube. And then we will also be we'll be doing this live stream, and hopefully we're getting some more traction with this live stream. And then, of course, we're going to have our weekly podcast so that we can do that and keep that going. And that'll be interesting to see how that goes. So those are kind of the 4 things that we're going to want to do, right? So I actually watched a video this morning, and I can't even remember what it is. Let me see if I can bring it up on YouTube. It kind of came up in my feed of all places. And it was from Ali Abdal. And right, it was this, I think it was this video here. And let me close this so I can see what's going on. Yeah, it was this video here.
Hey friends, welcome back to the channel.
7 mistakes to avoid while building your first business. And I think there was, where's that? Right here. It was about sequencing. And he's talking about the difference between, we could see that picture, the difference between doing things in series and doing things in parallel. Whereas when you're doing things in series, it's one, then the next one, then the next one, and they all build and scaffold on each other. Where if you don't have the first one done, there's no way you can get to the second one. And then he was comparing that to, I think he has another image here of doing things in parallel. Yeah, right. Where you're kind of working on a bunch of things all at the same time. And the thing too is, if you look, I don't know if he says this in the video, but if you do things about in terms of like the batteries and the circuits, like I think when you're in parallel, you're kind of splitting how much energy is getting to kind of each one. I think that's what whereas if it's I think that even depends on how the batteries, anyways, that's not the point. I don't want to get into the physics stuff here. But the point being is that you're dividing out your time, and you might kind of do like a half-ass job at all of them, right? So it's kind of good to kind of focus on one thing. So it was kind of good to hear that this morning, where I'm like, yeah, you know what? All these things that we want to do, these are really kind of big things, but we need to figure out, or I need to figure out how I can scaffold these things so I can tackle them kind of one at a time. So that way, when 4 months, 6 months, or whatever comes down the road, we end up being exactly where we want to be. And I think that's one thing that is always difficult to do as a single owner, entrepreneur, or what have you, that there's so many different things that you have to do that you can end up being a little scatterbrained sometimes and not really focusing on the right thing. So what I wanted to do is just real quick here. I'm going to go into Asana here, and I'm just going to sketch out a general timeline for when I think those kind of 4 things are that that we want to get done. And actually, the 4th thing is not actually really kind of a thing, because it's just something that's ongoing, and that's just maintaining customers. So I actually do want to replace that with well, actually, what should we well, here, hang on. Let's just go with one thing at a time. So the first thing that I think is really important that I need to do is I need to start bringing awareness to pixel pieces. So today is the 8th, right? So March 8th. So we're going to go in and we're going to create a task here. We're going to say, it's going to be a bunch of different things here, but let's say finalize initial number of components and have grand launch of pixel pieces. Right? So we talked a lot about this in terms of we could put things on Product Hunt, and we can do some advertising, and we could let everybody that we know about this thing, get them to promote it or what have you. So to really try to do a really good job with this product launch. So let's give this is what, 1 week? So Friday. So 1, 2, 3. I even feel like let's give us a good, I don't know what's the best day to launch, like on a Monday or a Friday. We'll actually maybe have to do some research on that. Can we change the color of this? I'd love to change the color. So again, we're thinking of a 4 month kind of plan here. So this almost takes us, this is already 1, 2, 3, this is already 4 weeks basically. This might even be a little bit too long, because I don't think it's going to take us that long, but I think for this one, we want to give ourselves ample room in case there's things that come up with clients or what have you, just to kind of play it safe so that we don't, burn ourselves out or what have you, just really trying to get things done as quickly as possible. So can we change the color of this card? There's got to be a way to change the color, isn't there? I'll look into that a little bit later. I guess it's not terribly critical. Okay, so the second thing that I know I want to do, and this goes back to the unconventional mindset and goes back to this live stream, is I do want to improve the quality of this show. So what that looks like, I'm not 100% sure yet what all the details are going to be. But I do know that there's different screens and different layouts and views that I want to have to incorporate in the show. And I think having a little bit more structure to this program, I think would be really good. And I think even having guests come in to the live stream would be really valuable as well too. There's lots of things that I think that I can do to make this live stream more engaging. And as we're getting, we're slowly, growing, right? We just hit 400 subscribers, which is awesome. Thank you guys, by the way. There's different things I think that we can do to, just make it more engaging and to make it more interactive for people that are watching. So with that being said, so let's just say, again, this is going to be very vague, where we're going to set up lots of different things within our Asana here to actually put tasks that are associated with these main goals. Improve the quality of the unconventional mindset live stream. So, what's going on here? Oh, there's always so many of these things that happen. Okay, just get out of that. So, again, I'm going to have some overlap, I think, from one to the other, just because, again, we're not exactly sure how long these are going to take. So I think I like having a little bit of an overlap, right? So hopefully by, April 1, we can have our grand opening launch of Pixel Pieces. And then we could turn our attention to improving the quality of the live stream. And then, of course, while that's going in place, we can put together processes of what it's going to look like to work on a day-to-day basis in terms of how many components that we want to release on a given day or a given week. How are we going to work on our templates? How are we going to engage with our customers? All those kinds of things. That we're going to put all kinds of processes in place for that. So that way we can get everything running like a well-oiled machine. Which will be really, really nice for us to do. Okay, now for the big thing with Pixel and Pixel's Pieces and moving that forward is going to be creating our collection of YouTube videos and getting into the process of releasing one YouTube video every single week, which is going to be easier said than done because of all the different things that we have to do. So, this one is a little bit weird in the sense that this is going to be a time when we want to start releasing YouTube videos, and we probably want to have a good chunk of videos already edited and in the bag. I would love to have, like at least 2 months worth of videos ready to go. Be great even if it was more, but So we can just say have initial bank of 8 YouTube videos ready to go when we launch. We'll just call it Pixels. Pixels. Just say YouTube channel. Okay, and then I'll stop opening that thing. All right. And I think this thing, again, this is obviously part of growing and keep growing Pixel Pieces, because we're going to be making videos that are all about tutorials on using WEBFLOW, tutorials on how to be a web designer, web design principles, all those kinds of things. So this is zoom back out to months, please. Thank you. Right. So I'm trying to think too, because we're talking about kind of a 4-month timeline from having everything ready to go, and we're ready to kind of start our podcast, which might seem like it's a long ways away because we kind of decided to start a podcast, but then we're like, oh, it's not going to be ready for another 4 months. I want to make sure that we really give myself enough time to not just be so overworked and burnt out, because that's something we definitely want to avoid. And also, when we start a podcast, we're going to be starting with, 3 or 4 podcasts and release them the day of. So we're going to have to get a bunch of those filmed as well, as we once we release, right? So, when do we want to say? I think even if we just give ourselves, let's just say up until May. So we're even March 8th. That's even almost. Let's give even a little bit more time, actually. Let's go to May 6th. So sometime between April and May, we'll be ready for our YouTube channel. And then we'll see, this is even, well, we're March, April. Yeah, so that might even be, it might be less than 4 months of what we're putting in here, but let's keep going here. So beginning, whoops. Let's say create podcast. This is like, there's so much that's going to go into just creating this podcast, but I'm just going to put in brackets and everything that goes with it. The process of securing guests, where we're going to film, procuring the equipment that we're going to need, building out any kind of set that we're going to want, building up a little bit of a studio place if we're going to do any kind of remote guests as well. Lots of things that are going to be part of this. And everything that goes with it. So what did I say? Close this again. Create podcasts. Oops. Stop it. Yeah, it won't let me. Okay. Create podcasts and have initial 8 podcasts filmed and ready to go. And I know we're going to want to release date for podcast. We'll launch with 4 episodes ready to go. So we'll have a nice big launch party with kind of 4 ready to go. And I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here just so we can kind of see. Actually, I guess we can even go quarterly. Oh. So, yeah, if we start the process in May, give ourselves 2 months to do that. So maybe we can even kind of think about having a Canada Day or I guess Independence Day for all our American friends, like launch for the podcast. That might not be so bad. So that's March. So it's like March, April, May, June. Yeah, that's like 4 months. Yeah, so I think that actually is a really good timeline. Excuse me, to get this done. So yeah, that's not so bad. I think I like that. Okay, let's make sure this makes sense for us. Okay. So we're talking from today until April 8th. We give ourselves a good month to ramp up pixel pieces. So we basically need to bring this up to, we have 68 components. So we're probably going to want to have, 125 components or so. I know there's a few other things that we need to do. Like we want to get some style guides set up, maybe a template or two, probably a template or two. So if we give ourselves a month to do that, and then to figure out what our grand launch is going to be when we're talking about launching on product content, maybe some other places, setting up social media, all that kind of stuff, I think that's a good timeline to get that done. So we can focus on this over the next month and just don't think about any of this stuff. We focus on this. And then once that's launched, we can spend a good week and a half really figuring out what to do with this live stream and improve the quality. I think 2 weeks is good for that because I know there's a few kind of plugins or whatever with OBS that I want to figure out how to operate and how to use, and then maybe create different types of graphics or alerts and all that kind of stuff. Just learn all that stuff. So I'll just dive right into doing that. And then we'll spend about another month really getting into our YouTube videos. I mean, we've already started writing some stuff. But I think we'll set off a good chunk of time, again, a good month, to write as many different videos as we can. And what's really good with them is that we're not we're not like trendy. Like we're not talking about current news events and politics or any of that stuff, like pop culture. It's all just kind of, if I make a video on why I like WordPress versus Webflow, that's not going to change a month from now. So if I film it now and I release it 2 months from now, the content is going to still be very relevant, right? So that's the plus. So we can kind of lean onto that or lean into that. So give me a month for that. I think is pretty good to get 8 in the bank. And then we could just, even if it's just on May, we just start releasing them from there. Then we already have 2 months of stuff in the bank. And then again, with all these things, we'll have processes in place. Once Pixel Pieces launches, we'll put the processes in place to make things really easy and smooth, to keep things operating. Same thing with the live stream. So we have the routine every single day that we do, makes things easier and easier to do. And it takes less and less time to get things done and to make sure that the quality is still really high to what our standards are. And then again, once we have the videos, we start posting them, scheduling them. We can have the process of like, okay, we're still going to try to maintain 1 video a week so that we don't get behind and we don't lose our kind of bank of 8 videos that we have, that are ready to go, right? In case anything comes up where I can't live stream or I can't film videos or whatever, we have a backup of stuff that's kind of ready to go. And then once we have all that process in place, then we could like focus, okay, all right, let's build out our podcast. Let's figure out how we get guests. Let's build a studio, whether that's here, whether we look for some other place that's locally that we could rent out, maybe on the real cheap, or if we can get for free or something. I have no idea how that would work. But we'll go through all of that process and then think about having a Canada Day. What day is that actually? July 1st. That's a Monday. That's actually kind of really cool. So I'm actually going to put this in there. Say launch. I don't know what it's going to call. The unconventional podcast. I don't know what it's going to be called. But we're going to have that. And let's edit this. And we're going to mark this. We're going to set it for just do on the 1st. And actually, can we make it? We want to make it a milestone. And then, assign it to me. And I think that shows up. Yeah, so that's kind of our milestone there. Oh, don't create that there. Okay, perfect. So I like that. I don't have any milestones for when the new live stream is going to be all set up and when the YouTube channel is going to go live. Once we go further along in the process, then we can kind of figure it out. The first thing we'll be choosing a date for when we're going to have our grand opening. Maybe it'd be kind of cool to get it towards my birthday. My birthday's on the 18th of April, but that might be a little bit too far out. Okay, I like this. There's lots that's going to go into each one of these major timeline points, but I think this is a really good timeline. I think it works really well. All right. Thoughts, questions, comments? Do let me know what you think about this timeline and this process. If you think it's gonna be any good. Again, so we got March, April, May, and then all of June, and then July 1st. Yeah, that's like 4 months, maybe a little bit less than 4 months. I think it's like a perfect timeline for us to almost like start the summer right, where we're going to be able to consistently release really good quality content on a day-to-day basis or on a week-to-week basis, I guess, for kind of our whole business as a whole. And then hopefully by then we just kind of see the numbers going up. And we'll talk about all the actual numbers that we're going to want to review and track, because we need to look at metrics. Like we need to see what's actually successful or what's not, right? So there could be things about obviously the number of people that are using Pixel Pieces, the number of signups that we have, the number of components that get downloaded, the number of videos, the number of views or the watch time that our videos are getting or that our live stream is getting. And then of course, podcasts is just the number of downloads. And again, some things we could do watch time for some of them or listen time. So we're going to have all those metrics to see how things are doing. And then we're really going to get into figuring out how we can optimize different parts of our process once we get that all set up. So, looking forward to that. I think that's going to be quite interesting and a lot of fun too. This is a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so that was like 25 minutes, a lot longer than I thought. And I do apologize again for this voice. So hopefully over this weekend, this cold or whatever bug that I have clears up, so I don't sound like I don't know, I'm eating coals or something like that. I don't know. I think I sound pretty awful, but thank you for sticking with me and bearing through the raspy voice. I appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to end it here for today. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for tuning in, and again, thank you to each and every one of you that have subscribed. I absolutely appreciate it. And I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you here for another stream on Monday.